The sound of the phone ripped through the silence. It was 4 a.m. I'd been staring at the ceiling for the better part of an hour, unable to sleep again. At first, I didn't move. No one calls at that hour unless it's bad news. My first thought was my daughter. Hospital. Car crash. Something awful. My hand hovered above the phone. When I picked it up, my heart was already pounding. I didn't even say hello. "It's me, your husband." The voice cracked but was unmistakable, deep, steady, wrapped in something I hadn't heard in over a decade. My breath caught. My legs went cold. This had to be a prank. A scam. But then it said, Marlena, my little troublemaker. That nickname. No one ever called me that. No one ever knew it but Lionel. I sat up straight, heart thudding, lips dry. Who is this? I can explain everything. Meet me. Today. 5 o'clock. At the diner. Then the line went dead. I stared at the screen. No number. No history. Just blank air where a ghost had spoken. 12 years. It had been 12 years since he died. I remember the day so clearly. We never saw the body. At least, not clearly. The boating accident had left what was left of him unrecognizable. Closed casket. No autopsy. Just a nod from the authorities and a wave of sympathy from people who didn't know the man I lost. His brother had pushed hard, "You have to let him go, Marlena. Bury him. Move on." They all acted like grief had a damn timer on it. But something had never sat right with me. I never sold his things. Never touched the garage. His tools stayed on the wall, his scent faded into the air slowly, like he was still just out running errands. I raised our daughter alone. Quietly. Resentfully. Morning turned into numb survival. I'd built my life around what was left. Now, I was being asked to unravel it all for a voice on a line. I scrambled out of bed, grabbed my phone. I checked the log, nothing. No caller ID. No record. I ran to the garage. I hadn't stepped in there in 5 years. My hands trembled as I found the old cassette voicemails he used to leave me, Lionel, on his lunch breaks, rambling about nonsense. I played them. Same tone. Same rhythm. Same tiny rasp at the end of his sentences. Same man. I collapsed into the armchair, phone in my lap. I called Danetta. She picked up on the second ring, groggy. "Marlena? What is it?" I could barely form words. I just got a call. From Lionel. Silence. Then laughter, soft, confused. "Girl, what kind of meds are you on?" I'm not joking. He knew the nickname. He said to meet him. Today. Marlena, people do sick things. This is someone messing with you. You've been tired lately. Maybe. I know his voice, Danetta. The pause told me she heard the conviction in mine. Okay. Don't do anything stupid. Don't go alone. I'm not calling Audrey. Not yet. I can't. She didn't argue. Later, at work, I kept seeing him. Not his face, just shadows, outlines, movements. Paranoia? Maybe. At one stoplight, a man leaned against a sign, staring straight at me. Same build. Same stillness. When I blinked, he was gone. Then came the song, our wedding song. A soft, dusty tune that hadn't touched the radio in years. Coincidence? At home, the mail had something waiting. No return address. Just a simple note on thick paper. I never stopped loving you. His handwriting. God, that sharp R. That long loop on the L. No one could copy it. Not exactly. The world tilted under me. I tried to focus on work. Couldn't. Then my boss stopped by my cubicle. Someone dropped this off for you earlier, he said. Didn't leave a name. A napkin. Just a diner's name scrawled in pen, see you at 5 p.m. I didn't even remember walking to my car. I sat inside, staring at the dashboard. What if he faked his death? What if it was my fault? We'd fought before his trip. Ugly words. He said he needed space. I'd told him not to come back. Was that it? Had I pushed him away so hard he just vanished? The guilt squeezed around my ribs. And now he was back. Why? What had the past 12 years been for? Tears wouldn't come. I was too wrung out. I found an old notepad. Started writing. Didn't know if it was for him or for me. I don't know what you want. I don't know who you are now. I'm not sure I ever knew. My hand trembled. I buried you. I became someone else to survive you. And now. That's beautiful, a voice said behind me. I froze. That voice again. But now it was in the car. I parked across the street from the diner with 15 minutes to spare. The sun hung low, casting long shadows across the parking lot. My fingers tapped the steering wheel, nerves pulling at my gut. I watched every man walk in, older, younger, tall, hunched. None of them was him. I hadn't set foot inside that diner since our last breakfast together. The smell hit me before the door even shut behind me, burnt coffee, bacon grease, sweet rolls. It felt like a place caught in amber. Time hadn't touched it. Maybe that's why he picked it. I sat by the window, back against the wall, facing the door. Ordered a black coffee I didn't want. My hands trembled when I brought the cup to my lips. What if I'm not crazy? I scribbled the words in my journal. Again. Then again. I didn't look up when someone slid into the booth across from me. But when he leaned in and whispered, "You're not," I froze. My eyes rose, slowly, unsure if I even wanted to see what I already knew. He looked just like Lionel. Not a cheap lookalike, not someone playing dress-up. Same jaw. Same half-smile that always meant he was about to make a joke at someone's expense. But older. Worn. A tiny scar ran down the left side of his chin. That was new. "Say something," he said. "Who are you?" "I'm Lionel." "No, you're not. He's dead." "I know." He didn't look away. I hated that. I needed him to blink, to fumble, to give me a reason to call this off as a sick joke. "You expect me to believe that?" I said, voice flat. "I don't expect anything," he answered. "But I can prove it." He leaned back like we were old friends catching up, and I felt rage rise under my ribs. "Prove it." Our first dance, my funny Valentine. The dog we lost, Stitch. You cried more for him than you did at my funeral. I swallowed hard. That dog had been our first test at raising anything together. You proposed in my mother's backyard. The ring slipped from your hands and fell in her bird bath, I said, eyes narrowing. You were shaking so bad I thought you were having a stroke. He chuckled. That damn chuckle. You made me climb in and fish it out. I didn't respond. My skin burned. The man in front of me knew everything. Not general things, private, sacred things. Things I hadn't spoken out loud in over a decade. I know how this looks, he said, voice low. But I had no choice. Not then. You had a choice, I snapped. You chose to stay gone. I was protecting you. That line hung in the air like smoke. Vague. Evasive. Insulting. Protecting me from what? Yourself? I can't explain everything here. I slid the check across the table, dropped 2 bills under the mug. I'm not doing this. I stood. Marlena, he said softly, troublemaker. That damn nickname. He reached into his jacket and placed a weathered envelope on the table. Read this when you're alone. It's everything. I didn't touch it. I just left. I drove home without the radio on. No tears. Just silence. The envelope lay on the passenger seat like it was watching me. Judging me. Back inside, I set it on the kitchen counter and stared at it. My hands hovered above it like it might burn me. Instead, I poured a drink. Sat by the window. Thought of all the years I'd spent clawing my way back to the surface after he died. Therapy. Nights holding my daughter's hand while she cried for a man she barely remembered. The birthdays we skipped. The anniversaries I ignored. I picked up a pen and wrote a letter. Just to get the words out. Just for me. To the man who left me dead inside, I wrote. I buried you. I buried the pain. And now you show up like it never mattered. I paused. Then added, why did you choose now? The silence in the house pressed against me. Finally, I opened the envelope. Inside was a legal document. Signed by Lionel. Dated 3 days ago. My knees buckled. I had to grab the edge of the counter to stay upright. There was no denying it now. Whoever that man was, he hadn't just shown up with stories. He had paperwork. The next morning, I drove to Danetta's place. No small talk. Just dropped the document on her kitchen table, beside her half-eaten toast. She squinted at the signature. Then at the photo he'd slipped into the envelope, us, from our honeymoon in Belize. I'd lost that roll of film. Or so I thought. Is this real? She asked, voice tight. You tell me. She pulled out a box from her closet. Old cards. Notes. She laid one birthday card beside the document. Same sharper, same weird loop on the Y, same man. She didn't speak. Just handed me her phone. We're calling Roger. Roger had been a detective for 30 years. Retired now. Drinking more than working. But he knew people. He listened without interrupting. You're saying he died, and now he's back, he said flatly. I nodded. If he's back, Roger said, either he was hiding or someone else was. I didn't know what that meant. We were still sitting there, head spinning, when my phone buzzed. Voicemail. My daughter. Mom, something weird happened today at school. She hesitated. My chest clenched. There was this man. He came by. He said he's my dad. I didn't hesitate. The second I heard my daughter's voice on that voicemail, I was already grabbing my keys. I didn't even put on shoes, just slipped into flats and bolted out the door. The drive to her school felt longer than it ever had. Every red light, every slow turn, I fought the urge to scream. My hands gripped the steering wheel like it might snap. My daughter. A man claiming to be her father. This wasn't just my past crashing back into my life, it was trying to take my child. When I pulled into the school parking lot, the building was mostly empty, its hallways lit by that tired yellow glow they leave on at night. The receptionist buzzed me in and brought me straight to the vice principal's office. She looked calm, almost too calm. There was a man, she said, voice clipped. Tall, late 40s. Said he was Layla's father. We asked for ID, he didn't have any. Said he was in a rush. When we pressed, he left. My breath caught. Did he touch her? Did he speak to her directly? He didn't get that close. But he waited outside her classroom. She saw him through the glass. They brought Layla in. Her face was pale, but she tried to be brave. She always did. I knelt down to her eye level. Baby, what did he look like? She hesitated. Like the photo in your drawer. What photo? The one of you and Daddy on the beach. That photo had been buried at the back of a locked drawer. She'd never seen it. I never showed it to her. I smiled, small and tight. You okay? She nodded, but her lip quivered. I hugged her close, burying my face in her hair. On the way home, the sun had just dipped below the trees, casting everything in that eerie blue light that comes before night. Layla sat in the back, quiet, holding my hand over the center console. Then she spoke. Mom, he said something else. I glanced at her through the rearview mirror. He said, ask your mom what really happened in 2012. I didn't respond. My throat had closed up. The rest of the ride was silent. At home, I locked every door, shut every window. Then I pulled down the old lockbox from my bedroom closet. My hands shook as I entered the code. Inside, yellowed hospital forms, letters, and his death certificate, water-stained, frayed at the edges. 2012, explosion. Body presumed unrecoverable. I remembered the day they gave it to me. I didn't cry. Not because I believed it, but because pretending to believe it was the only way to stay sane. I dug deeper. Beneath the documents was an envelope, thick and faded. On the front, in Lionel's handwriting, only if I disappear. I tore it open. Marlena, if you're reading this, they failed. I tried to stay hidden. I tried to keep you and Layla safe. But if this letter finds you, trust no one. Not even your sister. I let the paper drop to the floor. I picked up the phone and called Ren. You sound breathless, she said, already on edge. Do you remember the boat accident? I asked, skipping every pleasantry. Of course I do. Don't start this again, Marlena. What if Lionel's not dead? Silence. Then, you've spiraled before. I was there. Remember the therapist? Remember when you said you saw him in the grocery store? It wasn't real then, and it's not real now. You're lying. Her tone shifted, sharp. You need sleep. You're being paranoid. Tell me the truth, I said. What happened in 2012? She hung up. I stared at the phone. That wasn't just defensiveness. That was fear. My mind flashed back to a moment in 2013, Ren crying in the pantry, clutching the cordless phone, saying, "It's handled. Don't call again." She said it was about work. I didn't believe her then. I sure as hell didn't believe her now. Something in the attic creaked. I hadn't been up there in years. I grabbed a flashlight and pulled down the ladder. The attic was cold, darker than I remembered. Dust everywhere, except in one corner. There, a box. New. Clean. Not mine. On top was a cassette recorder. Taped to it, "Play Me Alone." I sat on my bed. Locked the door. Hit play. It was his voice. "Marlena, if you're hearing this, they know I broke protocol. I had to see you. I had to see her. They told me you'd be protected. That they'd keep you out of it. I believed them." A pause. Then, panic in his voice. "I don't have long. You need to." A scream. A scuffle. The sound of something falling. Then silence. I sat there, frozen, the recorder still humming. That wasn't a memory. That was now. Something scraped downstairs. The front door. I hadn't unlocked it. I grabbed the fireplace poker from beside the hearth and crept through the hall. Every step felt like it echoed off the walls. No one was there. But on the kitchen counter a single white lily. His favorite flower. Not a ghost. Not a dream. Someone had been in my home. Tonight. I texted Danetta, "They've been in the house." Her reply came fast, "Pack a bag. Come here. Now." I grabbed Layla, still half asleep. Stuffed diapers, medicine, a change of clothes into a duffel. I didn't stop to think. We drove through the night. As I pulled out of the driveway, I looked back at the upstairs window. Someone was standing there. Watching us. I stepped into the Catch family's great room, the setting sun casting elongated shadows across the polished mahogany floor. The chandelier above glowed with a warm amber light, yet I felt cold. My daughter Esme held my hand tightly, her small fingers gripping mine like an anchor. Around us, people raised glasses, exchanged greetings that felt rehearsed, smiles stretched too far, everything built to run smooth, to keep questions bottled. I met Norel, Catch and Delina at the door. Their smiles were practiced. Their voices soft. I said, "Thank you for inviting us." They nodded. I didn't feel welcomed. We moved to the long table where the family motto glowed on the wall, "Honor our name, protect our future." I thought back to the morning I found the folder, the one showing I never signed off on the 2012 transfer. It felt like my past hitting me in this gilded room. I placed the folder on the table. My heart froze for a moment. I said, "This shows I never agreed to the asset transfer." Silence spread like ice. Norel's voice remained calm, "You misunderstand, dear." But the guests shifted, glances flicking. The man in the corner, Moreland Driscoll, stepped forward. It seems we overlooked one little form. I watched his lips curl. The moment felt poised, fragile and dangerous. I straightened, looked at Delina. "You spoke about no scandal." I heard it. My voice carried, and the smile slipped. Then I produced the tape recorder I found upstairs. I set it on the table, my finger hovering above play. The mood in the room shifted, I could see it, faces tightening, breath held. This is the audio from August 2nd, 2012 when Lionel last talked to his family in this very room, I said. My voice barely above a whisper. I pressed play. His voice, in that familiar tremor, said, "If you're hearing this, they asked me to vanish. Protect her." And then he screamed. The silence that followed felt like a verdict. Norel looked away. Delina's hand tightened around her glass. I sat up straight. You said I'd never hear this. You lied. I spoke softly but firmly, every word a strike. Heart racing, I rose from the couch. You built this empire on my grief, I said. The guests sat frozen. Delina scoffed, "You're making accusations without proof." My gaze flicked to the documents, then back to her. You told us that story so long, you expected no one would look, I replied. Norel's composure cracked. You don't know what you're dealing with, she whispered. I stepped forward, positioning myself between Delina and Esme. Don't pretend you did this for her, I said. Moreland advanced, voice low, "If you walk out now, consider all the doors you'll lose." I stood taller. Then I'll walk out knowing I'm free from your doors. The room held its breath. I walked to the photo wall, smile-frozen portraits of the Catch lineage. I yanked one down, Lionel and Delina in better times. Behind it I found a small key tag, Safe 12. My chest clenched. I took Esme's hand. My voice quiet, "We're leaving now, but this isn't defeat." The sun dipped lower and moonlight edged into the room. Norel offered a polite wave. I didn't look back. Outside, the valet handed over the limousine keys. I slipped into the car. The key tag fell from my pocket onto the plush seat. I picked it up, turned it over. Safe 12, Charleston branch. I closed my eyes for a moment. The air around me felt thicker, loaded with the weight of what I'd uncovered. I breathed in deep, exhaled steady. I had the key now. Not just a tag, but the final step. By the time I got home, the street was quiet. The lamppost outside flickered, washing everything in a dull yellow light. The air felt heavy, like the whole neighborhood was holding its breath. I shut the door softly, careful not to wake Esme. She was already asleep in the next room, her small nightlight glowing faintly against the wall. I stood in the hallway and just listened to her breathing, steady and safe. It grounded me, even for a second. Then my phone buzzed on the counter. A text from the school, "Please come in first thing tomorrow morning." My heart sank. My reflection stared back from the dark window, someone tired, too old for her years. I replayed everything from the Catch house, the way Norel's smile never reached her eyes, the way Moreland had stepped forward like a man pulling strings behind the curtain. I thought truth would free me, but truth only peeled away another mask. I whispered to myself, what happens when you pull one thread and the whole tapestry falls apart? The house groaned softly, as if answering. Then, from the mantel, a framed photo of Lionel and Esme tipped and crashed to the floor. The glass shattered, slicing through the quiet. I knelt, staring at their frozen smiles. For the first time, I didn't know whether to mourn or to fight. Morning came too fast. At the school office, the air smelled of disinfectant and cheap coffee. The administrator, Ms. Rowan, looked uneasy as she handed me a printed incident report. "A man tried to pick up Esme yesterday," she said. "He claimed to be her father. When we asked for identification, he left. Quickly." I stared at her. The words didn't land at first. He said he was her father? She nodded. Tall, dark hair, mid-40s. Sound familiar? My chest tightened. He's part of them, I murmured. The family. When I picked up Esme from her classroom, she clung to me, eyes red. Mom, I saw him. He looked like Daddy, like the picture you keep in your drawer. I froze. That photo wasn't visible. She'd never seen it. Who showed you that picture? I asked gently. She shook her head. I just knew. It was him. The administrator cleared her throat. He left a note. She handed me a folded piece of paper. The handwriting was sharp, deliberate. Ask your mom what really happened in 2012. It felt like the ground shifted beneath me. My knees locked. They weren't just haunting me, they were reaching for my daughter. At home, Esme opened her backpack. He told me to give this to you, she whispered. From inside, she pulled a small crimson-sealed envelope. My stomach turned. Where did you get this? He slipped it in my bag, she said. I couldn't bring myself to open it yet. Not there. Not in front of her. Later that day, I sat in the staff lounge at work. Coffee in hand, mind elsewhere. My colleagues laughed about weekend plans, and I tried to smile, but it felt foreign. I thought of Mandela's words, may your choices reflect your hopes, not your fears. I'd read it once on a poster in Esme's school hallway. It came back now, uninvited. My phone buzzed. Ren's name flashed on screen. Can't talk. Big meeting, her text read. Then nothing. I felt the familiar chill of being left alone. Finally, I unsealed the envelope. Inside was a photocopy of Lionel's death certificate. Same document, but this one had something added, a printed note at the bottom, see you soon. I stared at the words until they blurred. Shame crept in, not from guilt, but from the thought that maybe I had waited too long to face them. The laughter from the lounge faded into static. I folded the note, slid it into my purse, and took a deep breath. Then my phone rang again. The caller ID read, unknown, Charleston. I answered, heart pounding. Nothing. Just soft breathing on the other end. Then a click. The line went dead. By dusk, I couldn't stay in that house. I drove until the highway blurred, until the streetlights became ribbons of gold. I didn't go home. Instead, I pulled into a roadside motel, one of those old two-story ones with peeling paint and flickering signs. The kind of place where no one asks questions. Inside, I sat on the edge of the bed, laptop open. The news blared about inheritance scams, missing heirs, staged deaths. Families erased and rewritten on paper. I whispered to no one, this could be us. I texted Danetta, taking tomorrow off. Meet early. Her reply came fast, good call. Be safe. I stood, grabbed Esme's backpack, filled it with essentials. I took the key documents from the attic box, zipped them inside my bag, then set the house alarm remotely. Every action felt mechanical, planned by instinct more than thought. In the stillness, I spoke aloud, steady and clear, I will not let them breathe easier just because I asked the wrong question. When I finally turned on the motel lamp, something glimmered on the TV stand, a single white lily petal. Fresh. Clean. Lionel's favorite flower. Someone had been here. I woke up to a chorus of missed calls and unanswered texts. The motel room was quiet except for the hum of the air conditioner and the muffled sounds of passing cars. I sat up, my heart already racing. Danetta's name flashed across the screen again. The retired detective had left a message I couldn't ignore. I scooped Esme into my arms for a moment. She stirred and squeezed my shirt. Protecting her had become my priority, sharper and more urgent than anything I'd felt in 12 years. The envelope from the school sat on the dresser, its contents still a mystery. The old tape recorder, too quiet and heavy in my bag. Danetta's voice came through when I called. I heard about a safe house list in Charleston. You need eyes, you need support. My pulse thumped. I realized this was bigger than I thought. Not just a comeback story, but a battle for truth. For Esme. For me. I packed quickly, zipped the documents into my folder, tucked the recorder into a separate case. Esme watched from the bed. I kissed the crown of her head. We're doing this together, I promised. The detective's message pinged again, meet me tonight at the Catch property. Dress as if you're attending a gala. That evening, I arrived at the estate with Esme at my side, the borrowed car parked under the oak trees lining the drive. I chose a conservative dark dress, nothing flashy, just enough to blend in. The valet opened the door and I held Esme's hand firmly as we stepped into the grand foyer. Music drifted from the ballroom, laughter followed from the terrace. Everything was glossy. Everything was polished. Inside, Norelle and Delina circulated among guests. Their laughter rang with ease. I kept my expression neutral. I repeated in my head, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. I clung to that line. It felt like armor. We reached the library where Moreland finally appeared. He motioned toward me, proof you've been looking for. He handed a sealed folder. I opened it gently. A ledger. Trust accounts. Withdrawal records under Lionel's name. Years of money moved. Too clean to be anything but deliberate. I glanced at Esme, whispered, "We're in now." Her eyes were wide. I nodded. The lights flickered. Then complete darkness. A voice over the PA system cracked, "Ladies and gentlemen, please evacuate calmly, this is a drill." Doors locked. Guests froze. The darkness felt familiar. My mind flashed to the boat, the explosion, the hush that followed. I pulled out the recorder and hit play. Lionel's voice rang through the library. They called it an accident, but they knew. A scuffle. A heavy breath. A door slamming shut. Silence. Delina reached for Esme. My protective instinct snapped. "You can't take her!" I shouted. The crowd backed away. Moreland appeared behind me. "Give the tape or the night ends badly for all of us." I didn't flinch. I spun and grabbed Esme's hand. "Run to the car, we go now." I sprinted out into the rain-slicked driveway with Esme behind me. The estate faded in the mirrors like a monstrous house of cards collapsing under its own weight. We didn't stop. Under the streetlights I pulled my coat tighter around Esme. I dialed Danetta, "Load the files. Begin public release." She hesitated, then, "Yes. Mabry, we'll be ready." Some part of me relaxed. I wasn't just the woman they thought would stay silent. I was unconscious no more. I was a strategist. The weight of 12 years didn't disappear, but it shifted, lighter. Sharper. "Esme," I whispered, "you'll never feel invisible in your own story again." She nodded, sleep still in her eyes. As I grasped the folder on my lap, it vibrated. My phone lit up. A message came through, "Safe 12, check your garage." The war had begun. I arrived at the media center in Charleston with Esme by my side, her small hand tucked into mine. The room buzzed with equipment, cameras, and reporters already lining up, their notepads open. My heart pounded, but I steadied myself. I told myself over and over, speak truth. The truth will set you free. Behind me on the large screen the live feed hashtags flickered, real Lionel, catch scandal. I took a breath and stepped forward. For 12 years I was silenced, I addressed them, voice calm. Today your questions will break that silence. I pressed play. On the screen appeared footage of Lionel's confession, the ledger I'd uncovered, the tape I found in my attic, all raw, unquestionable. I felt time shift. Just then the studio door flew open and Norelle charged in, a phone in her hand live streaming a fabricated confession meant to discredit me. The screen behind went dark. The moment hung, heavy. My pulse thudded. Everything led to this. The room froze. Norelle, composed yet furious, inserted the phone into a docking station. The clip played, me labeled unstable, filmed during a therapy session montage. I recognized the makeshift angles. It was discredit before the truth could land. My heart sank for a second, then I exhaled slow. I met the camera's glare. Here's what I have instead, I said. I pulled the USB from my coat. I streamed the genuine footage, Lionel's voice, the documents, the ledger. The screen switched. Tweets exploded. The tide turned. Moreland appeared in the screen corner trying to intervene, but the breaking news alerts drowned him out. Esme lifted the key tag Save 12 high so everyone could see it. I declared, this key unlocked their secret vault. I hold it now. The sound of police sirens built outside. The estate grounds flooded with headlights. Reality crashed in. Outside the estate's grand foyer I found Lionel in a wheelchair, escorted by detectives. His eyes found mine. I never forgot you, he whispered. I felt joy so sharp it cut through sorrow, the man I loved, the years stolen from us, the daughter I raised alone. I took his hand while cameras clicked. We're going home, together. Norelle was led out in handcuffs, her glare meeting mine. Calm. You lost everything you stole, I said. I crouched beside Esme. I said softly, her story is hers now. She nodded, relieved. Later, at Home's safe house, I opened the safe using Safe 12. Inside, a USB drive labeled the Truth Archive. I plugged it in and watched the screen light up. With the drive in hand I sat in our living room, Esme asleep on the couch. The house was still. I reflected on Maya Angelou's words, there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. I uploaded the archive publicly and posted a short video, this was our legacy. This is our future. The screen filled with messages of support, survivors, women in similar situations, reaching out, saying thank you. I hugged Esme close. We rebuilt from silence, I whispered. Then my phone buzzed. One number, unknown, text, you've won the battle, but the war is just beginning. A chill ran through me. I pressed send on the video one more time and held her until sleep carried her away. The sun rose quietly over the Virginia hills, bleeding soft light through the thin curtains of our new home. I was already awake. Esme slept beside me, her breath even and calm, one arm draped over my shoulder like she had when she was little. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was bracing for something. I just lay there, watching her sleep, whispering to myself, we made it this far. On the nightstand sat a single white lily, dry now, but still beautiful. The same kind I'd found at the motel. I'd kept it as a reminder that survival wasn't luck, it was will. I reached for the USB drive marked the Truth Archive, slipped it into my laptop, and began the upload. The truth is out, I said under my breath, steadying myself. Then I looked at my reflection in the mirror across the room. I am Mabry Dellis now, I whispered. Not someone's wife. Not someone's heir. My own name, my own voice. My phone chimed, a quiet alert. Archive live in 10 minutes. I exhaled. The moment I'd carried for 12 years was about to become public. I walked into the home office with Esme by my side. We sat together before the screen, hands clasped, and I clicked publish. The screen flickered and filled with files, ledgers, voice recordings, documents, all the evidence that proved what they'd done. One by one, people began sharing. Catch truth. Justice for Esme. Mabry Dellis. News anchors spoke on the living room TV. The Charleston scandal shakes one of the state's oldest dynasties. Esme leaned her head against my shoulder, wide-eyed. I smiled faintly. You see this? That's what happens when people stop being afraid. A quote came to me, Eleanor Roosevelt's words. A woman is like a tea bag, you don't know how strong she is until you put her in hot water. I'd been in boiling water for a decade. I smiled at the thought. They tried to bury us, I told Esme. They forgot we were seeds. Then came the knock. Firm. The kind that doesn't wait. I opened the door to find police cars and news vans lined up across the street. Flashing lights reflected on our windows. A familiar face stood in the yard, Moreland, handcuffed, led into a squad car. His head bowed, but when our eyes met, there was no apology. Just silence. Justice didn't need his confession anymore. By afternoon, Lionel arrived for the first time. He moved carefully, still weak, the years visible on him. When he reached the porch, I met him halfway. He said quietly, "Thank you for not giving up on me." I replied, "Thank you for surviving." We sat together in the living room, sunlight washing through the windows. No reporters, no cameras, just the three of us. Esme hesitated at first, then walked up and touched his hand. "Dad, are you really back?" she asked. His voice cracked a little. "I'm here now. I promise." We talked for hours, about the missing years, about what it took for both of us to keep going. There wasn't much celebration, just honesty. That felt truer than any reunion could. He looked at me and asked, "What do you want now, Mabry?" I paused. Freedom, from their version of our story. Before he could answer, my laptop pinged again, a live message feed from a victim support group. Hundreds of names, faces, messages. One woman wrote, "Because of you, I got my name back too." I stared at those words until they blurred. For the first time in years, my tears came not from pain, but release. That evening, I stood on the porch, watching the sky turn orange and lavender. The world felt lighter, the air sweeter. The small key tag labeled Safe 12 sat in my palm, its paint chipped, its purpose fulfilled. I whispered, "Victory isn't at the finish line, it's in choosing to run." The next morning, I walked into the county office and signed the final papers. Name change, Mabry Dellis. I handed it to the clerk, smiled, and stepped back into the sunlight. Esme ran up and hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. "Mom," she said, "the world knows our story now." "Yes," I said, kneeling to meet her eyes. "And we're going to help others tell theirs." Back home, I placed the lily back on the windowsill. Its petals had opened completely, bright against the glass. Life, new, fragile, but ours. My phone buzzed once more. Unknown number. The message read, "You've won the battle, now keep the peace." I looked out at the yard where Esme was chasing sunlight, and for the first time, I wasn't afraid of what came next. I was ready for it.